Good evening. Thank you for coming out tonight and listening to us amateurs. I was trying to think about it, and actually as I told Andrew, I was kind of hoping he wouldn't call me first because I really hadn't put this together yet, but we'll get through it somehow or another, so bear with me. Coming out of the cold, and I was thinking, how do I tie that together? Because my entire life, by definition, coming out of the cold means that you had to have been in the cold at some point in time, and I've spent my entire career trying to stay warm, so not really sure how that worked, but there is one incident that I can tell you about that relates a little bit to the theme. So bear with me, there's a little bit of a history lesson involved in it before we get going down the story road. Back in the early to mid 1970s, and I apologize to the majority of the crowd here, you're not going to be able to relate to that. Just work with me on this and we'll get through it. There was a general in the Army, his name was Earl Wheeler. He was from late 1960s to mid 1970s the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He was a 4-star general in the Army. And at that point in time, I was a member of the United States Army, believe that or not. Mostly you probably won't believe it looking at what you see now, but that's okay. And I was a member, I was actually very honored to be a member of the United States Army Honor Guard in Washington, D.C. And the way that this all ties together is that General Wheeler decided one cold, very, very cold December day in 1975 that he had had enough of the mortal realm. And so he left us. It was, as I said, it was in 1975, and those of you who are old enough to remember 1975 will remember snow about this deep in most places along the East Coast. Unfortunately, Washington, D.C. is on the East Coast, so there was a lot of snow that year. And we had to bury General Wheeler. I was in the honor guard that marched with him to his final resting place in Arlington National Cemetery. It was, as I said, there was a lot of snow and it was really, really cold, and because we were the pretty boys of the United States Army, we weren't allowed to really bundle up because it didn't really look good if you bundled up. So I'm still trying to figure out the mentality that came up with that. But at any rate, we marched behind General Wheeler's caisson and went to the chapel, and part of our duties as the honor guard for the general was to wait outside at the position of attention for the hour and a half that the preacher decided that he needed to send off General Wheeler appropriately. So we did that, and I don't know if any of you have ever been exposed to being out in the cold for an hour and a half when you cannot move, but really, really strange things start to happen to your body. And it all starts at the toes and works its way up. By the time an hour and a half is over with, believe me when I tell you, there is nothing that you can feel anywhere on your body. And then all of a sudden, this guy up there that happened to go to college and you didn't, so now he's the leader of the gang, says, "Attention." And you go, "Oh Lord, how am I gonna do this?" Because nothing wants to move. It's all like it's just frozen together, and you kind of snap to, and away you go, and you're walking like this, and trying to look like a professional soldier, and it's just not working for you. And finally, after about maybe a half a mile, things finally start to loosen up and get a little circulation going, and stuff works a little better for you. So that's how I came in out of the cold, and that's my one story of dealing with the cold weather, and that's the only one that I hope I ever have to experience.